for it. I do think that parents should be able to decide where their kids go to school and should be able to, decide the best education. But I'm also for increasing the education budget and ensuring that teachers are, you have the same grade or the same quality of teacher regardless to what school you go to. The reason for school vouchers and school choice is because parents want their children to have the best education and have the best teachers. For me, I'm going to ensure that teachers are, you have to have you have to have a 4-year degree at least to teach a preschool, Head Start, elementary, middle, and high school. You must have a 4-year degree. You must, you have to have, of course, more, to teach college. But I'm going to ensure that teachers are falling under, are under the requirement, the best requirements, and that their salaries are going to start out at $100,000 a year. So there's going to be a lot of things that they're going to have to require in order to do that. So, but they will, if they want that $100,000 a year, if they want to remain as teachers in New York City, they're going to have to fall under those requirements that I'm going to set forth. So I do agree with school choice or school vouchers. However, I'm going to ensure that you have the same grade or level of teachers across the board, so there really won't be a reason for you to specifically want your child to go to this school or that school. It will not be because of the quality of the teaching. You may have another reason for why you want your child to go over there, but it will not be because these teachers are better than these teachers over here, or they teach a better, they're better curriculum. It's not going to be that. It's going to be whatever other reason, but it won't be those. Because those teachers, I'm going to streamline the teaching with the education system to where they all have to have a certain type of a degree in the field and in the classes that they teach, and that they are following up, that they fit the same standard of requirements, and that their salaries, they will start out at $100,000 a year.
Also, as mayor, what would you do to address these city bikes? They have so much parking spaces that they're taking up. They're on the street. I mean, one thing if they put them near a park where you can lean them against a fence where there'll be a sidewalk area where there's enough room to pass it, and you could put it alongside the gate as a charging station for these city bikes, that's fine. But if you're going to leave it where you're taking up physical parking spaces, and also with the new garbage truck rules where we all have to buy the new garbage, if you live in a building you might not know this right now, they're required houses and buildings eventually are going to be putting weird bins in the street. So we had to get these little side loader garbage cans that they required us to buy. And supposedly they're not going to do that anymore for the city, for regular residential homes. I don't know if that's true or not. But at least for the buildings, they're going to make them where they have to have the big bins out in the street. So that they're going to be out in the street, they're going to be taking up parking spots in front of buildings. So all these parking spots that we normally would have, I believe they're going to eliminate at least over 100,000 or 150,000 parking spots because of this new rule. As mayor, would you look to reverse that? Because I believe that went under the mayor's sanitation commissioner, who's now our police commissioner. They're the ones that did a study, and they said, oh, let's move forward with it. So as mayor, you would have power to reverse that particular way of doing things, because it's hard enough to find a parking spot. And to drive around in circles like an idiot, we're actually hurting the environment when you think about it, because we're wasting more gas and fuel just to drive around in circles. As mayor, would you eliminate that ridiculous rule of having these bins now to be in front of the apartment buildings, which will be eliminating parking spots?
Actually, I won't. And the reason why is because I'm supporting free public transportation. So when you say that there's going to be there's a decrease of parking spots, parking spaces.
Because of the garbage.
Because of that, I'm supporting public transportation, and also as far as the bikes being parked, the biking lanes or the biking parking spots, I'm in support of that because I'm going to require the scooters and the electric bikes to be out there. So I support it because they're gonna be out there. They're not gonna be allowed to go in those buildings anymore, into our buildings anymore because of the fires that they start. So they're gonna have to be out there. We have to have some place to put them. So with that, I am in support of that. And as far as the parking spots for the trash bins, you know, I will see what I can do, but I do want, you know, for them to keep their trash outside and to increase the pickup, for that. You know, because our streets are dirty. It's nothing to walk past a pile of trash on any given day of the week. And I just want I will increase the pickup for that. So I'm just gonna.
People, I was wondering, we were just talking about trash, right? I like the idea of bringing back community service for low-level crimes, because I felt that really actually helped communities get cleaned up. You know, like, you know, so drinking a beer on the subway or smoking a cigarette on the subway, and I did volunteer for 19 years, you know, baseball league, and we used to have the Parks Department have community service people that came and cleaned, and you know, instead of giving them 2 days in jail,
Right.
they get to clean the community and do something good, you know.
Absolutely.
And I don't know what happened to that. It worked great.
You can have,
You know?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
We can bring back community services for different things like that down south. You know, I'm an Army brat, so I was raised
okay.
in the South, all over the South. But, you know, down south, if you got a ticket and you couldn't pay for your ticket, you had to do community service. If you was parking in the handicap zone, or if you was going too fast or whatever, you had to do community service. So I'm fine with that. And
Yeah.
different type of low-level crimes, you know, petty that you
yeah.
do, I'm fine with that, absolutely.
What is, if you could tell us your background of how you became, first your decision why you wanted to run for mayor, and also your background.
Well, I was born September 13, 1975, and I'm an Army brat. My father was in the United States Army when I was born, and I was born in Gelnhausen, Germany, simply because he was stationed at Fort Garrison at the time of my birth. So I've grown up all over the South, and I graduated from Jacksonville State University in Jacksonville, Alabama, with a bachelor's degree in computer information systems and a master's degree in public and business administration. And you know, I've worked, of course, in public and private sector. I've worked in the federal sector, and you know, I also, you know, put a lot of time in community service or community volunteer. And I've volunteered for several organizations and several foundations and charities. And in doing so, I just I've always had a special thing for civics or public discourse. And I've decided that, you know, I always have a lot of ideas. I submit a lot of ideas. And, you know, I just figured that this would be a way for me to just actually bring about a change and just a different view. And I think that my policies are different from any of the other candidates, you know, whether they're Democrat or Republican or independent. My policies are different, and I believe that my policies will produce long-lasting results for future mayors and future city councilmen and councilwomen.
No, very good. You're very well versed in the details. And I've seen of other people running for mayor, they just say a little tagline or two, but I haven't really seen anything well written on their full policies. So thank you for at least having detailed policies of your platform for mayor. Now, when you're running, did you speak with any, because right now, time of this meeting is February 23rd, and the petitions for the mayor and other races are supposed to start February 25th, this Tuesday. Have you ever, because right now, whatever the nominees are of the major parties have already been voted on. Of course, that doesn't negate that you can't try to get on the line depending on your registered party, because otherwise, if you're trying to get on another party, it's called a Wilson Peculiar, and you need to get the vote of the counties to vote for you to get on, but those meetings happened already. So, but as an independent candidate, how would you get on the ballot, and do you have an organization already in place to try to get you the signatures to get on.
Well, I'm open for endorsement, so I can be endorsed by either the Democrat or the Republican. I am open for endorsement. The reason why I say I'm an independent is because my policies are both, can both appeal to both Democrats and Republicans.
Right.
When I look through my policies, they're both appealing to both Democrats and Republicans. So I am open for that. I would probably fall under the working families, under the working families on the ballot, you know, because as an independent, I'm registered, I think I'm registered because even though I voted for both Republican and Democrat, somehow I'm registered as a Democrat. I don't know how, but somehow I'm registered as a Democrat. And when I voted for both throughout my life, actually, I've, you know, since 18, I've voted for both Republicans and
Yeah,
Democrats.
it's probably when you registered to vote, either someone did it for you,
Project.
or you.
Somehow I'm
And you can
down
always
with that.
change it in the future. You can just get a form online, or at the local library, you could get an old regular form, or ask the Board of Elections to send you a form. And you can always switch your party in the future. Right now, the deadline to switch parties is February 14th. So with that being said, so if you're a registered Democrat currently, your best bet, in my opinion, is try to run in the Democrat primary somehow. But that would require you to have these petitions already made up.
Right, and I
Since
contacted,
as a member of the party, you could still run as a Democrat, and whatever that amount of signatures would require. Of course, like I said, you're a big field, and it's basically whatever who gets the signature last, basically. So let's say Andrew Cuomo is looking to run, and Mayor Adams and whoever else wants to run, they get signature A first, but you get it 2 days later, the same person. Your signature technically would stand because you got it last. So they could sign twice, but as long as it's the last person signing it, that signature would stand. So you'll have a lot of people that you have to deal with. So did you focus on what's your way of getting on the ballot? Because by this point, then major parties already did their endorsements, and they already printed the petition sheets already, and they have the name of their borough president candidate and whatever major parties that are running for offices, I mean. So did you have, because we only have basically a month to do this, and did you look into your operation of how to get these signatures?
I have, and I've contacted the Board of Elections, and I was told that if I run on the independent, because there isn't a category, apparently this is only Democrat, Republican,
Right.
Conservative, for working families.
Right.
So I would fall under working families as far as what I have here. My policies.
But are you a member of the Workers' Family? Because I don't know if that would, I think you have to be a registered member of the Workers' Family.
So,
to,
but for me, if I.
Because I'm sure they have their own candidate, so you would be forcing a primary if you were a member of that party. So what I'm saying, just as a friendly advice, I think your best angle right now is to focus to try to get on the Democrat primary. Because that way you're already the member of a party, I mean, like it or not, you are at this point.
Yeah.
So as a member of the Democrat Party, you could run as a member of that party for a primary, but it would require you to make sure you get your petition sheet correct, because you have to have someone look at it and make sure the proper wording is done, because they'll kick that out. You'll do all your effort, and you'll submit your filings to the Board of Elections to your campaign thing, and they're gonna say, this is not good. You didn't have committed to fill vacancies, or something else on the petition sheet that they'll think, or the address was written wrong, or whatever was wrong on it. So you gotta make sure you have at least what a petition sheet looks like, if you have a copy of that, so that way you could, you know, if anything, when I get my petition sheets, it'll be for the Republican Party. I can always take a picture of it, so you have an idea of what the wording would be, at least on the Republican end. I'm sure it wouldn't be different on the Democrat side. Just change names, of course. But you would have to figure out how to do that. to get yourself on that ballot. So if it's 7,500 signatures as an independent,
And you have to have it printed out. I literally have to print out 7,500 pieces of paper, and there is no way for them to electronically sign it.
There's 5 signatures per paper, so.
well, you can have on the petition sheet, our sheets have 5 per sheet.
Yeah,
So you can have 5 or 10 or wherever the amount of names you want, but when you're submitting it, you gotta make sure you have, everything in order, that's the whole thing.
well, yeah.
So as long as you have whatever you're
7,500
submitting,
signatures.
7,500 signatures.
That's a lot.
Now, I don't know if it's 7,500 for the Democrat Party, because technically, the law is, or the rule, is 5% of the registered voters. Now, I don't know if that means independent might be 7,500, but Democrat might be way, way, way higher. It might be, or maybe not. Maybe there is a threshold that they say 7,500 for mayor. I could be wrong, I'm not sure, that's why you gotta find this out. But technically, it's 5% of the, like, I was a district leader, I'm a district leader in the Republican Party for the 44th Assembly District. We have to get 5% of the registered Republicans within that district. My number technically is 325 based on whatever the amount is. And so that means we have to get 5% when we submit it. So you gotta find out what that rule would be, because if you are a registered Democrat, your best bet is to try to get on as a Democrat to force a primary. There'll be other people running, and if it's a large field of people, you might have a chance where you could just get in, as your policies are said.
Yeah.
So that's one angle. Or if the independent route would be the issue, I don't know if just by getting on the workers' family, I think you have to be a member of that party just to do that. Or they have to say, well, if you're not a member of my party, we did an executive meeting, we did a Wilson Peculiar, we're endorsing you, even though you're not a member of that party. Because that's what organizations do.
Right.
We do it on certain levels of people who are state senators or running for city council that are Democrats. Sometimes we endorse. Me personally, I don't vote for that because I'm on the board, but some do, and they get on. Like we had Zipka Felder, who was recently approved to run as a Republican, even though he's a Democrat. So you got to look in there. Your time is short.
Yes, it is.
It's
Yes, it is.
February 25th.
Yes,
when
it is.
everyone's out in the streets.
Yes, it is.
Shouldn't Alec go through that process too, Alec like president?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you have a question? I saw you a couple of times.
Oh, yeah. You have a lot of interesting ideas about trying to help people with severe mental issues. I was just wondering, because you mentioned, like, sometimes, I don't know how it works today, but people who have severe mental issues, sometimes, you ask a judge, the judge himself, if they're on the left side of the thing, they could deny someone their freedom, not because they have any real reason, it's just because it sounds like you get a lot of good ideas. I'm just not sure how they would actually help people out.
Well, with the judge, you have to have you can either be referred by a licensed professional, a licensed mental health professional, board certified mental health professional,
You're talking
or
about
a
people that
letter.
has like severe issues. Like,
Severe mental illness diagnoses, severe mental illness diagnoses. Or you
What-
can have a letter from a mentally disordered letter from a judge, signed by a judge. So if you get that letter signed by a judge, and I've had an experience with an individual that had that. You get a letter signed by a judge, yes, you can definitely, you will have to go there.
So that's I don't know how that would help with someone who has suffering from issues. Sometimes people may have severe mental issues and they're okay. They're not going to be a threat to anyone. Maybe they won't be helped necessarily by being in the street. But if you're talking about people who are a threat to other people or a threat to themselves, what are you?
More of a
what's the
homeless
criteria?
nature, right? If they're
Yes,
homeless.
absolutely. And also, if you have that letter signed by a judge, a mentally disordered letter, that letter pretty much says that you cannot be held accountable for anything that you do. So anything that you do past, present, or future, you know how you hear on the news where somebody has a mental illness diagnosis and they attack someone and they're back out on the street, or you hear about how they do this and they're back out. That is because they have that letter signed by a judge. It means they cannot be held accountable. So if you have that letter, you have to live there. This will be a nice facility. This will be a nice facility.